ladies and gentlemen, I am Rob of the Lair of OmnusI YouTube channel, and today is the 30th of August, and I am going to talk about a topic word from the RPGaDay, as I've done for the last, 29 days of August. The idea of this is to, generally create positive atmosphere in the gaming community, talk about ourselves, forge new connections and things like that. And today the word is connection, which seems to work pretty well. However, I've done a lot of autobiographical topics and done a lot of abstract talking. So this time I think I'll talk about connections in a way that kind of has meaning for me from back in the day. I am going to be referencing from the first edition Dungeon Master's Guide for Dungeons & Dragons, a advanced Dungeons & Dragons, as it were, and a particular item to me that exemplifies connections and has had a long shadow throughout the realm of Dungeons & Dragons, but I have a belief that it really, for those who have read and understood this particular item and what it can do, it's influenced a lot. I know it's influenced my style because I've copied the general concept a few times in the past, and I think it's a unique opportunity in gaming for a certain type of overall arcing adventure campaign scenario. If you distilled it into a one-shot, it would be just a blur, but anyhow, as far as connections goes, to me, those are exemplified by this particular artifact, the Rod of Seven Parts. The Rod of Seven Parts were created by the Wind Dukes of Akka to help them in the Great Battle of Pesh when they were fighting against Chaos. And this was, again, back in the day when the core concepts of law and chaos were constantly talked about. Read Michael Moorcock. His entire work is about law and chaos, and that stuff was very influential in Dungeons and Dragons and so on. Such a universal concept, the battle of law and chaos, but obviously Gygax and Arnis and company really loved it. But anyhow, the idea was the rod was created and it was broken apart into 7 parts. It's so powerful that each individual items still have abilities and powers, but their powers are never completely realized until they're all put together again, which starts a grand quest for reunification, finding all the different segments. And the first part of the rod that you get gives the owner a feeling of where the next part is. It wants to be put back together. So you are encouraged to go forth and connect all the bits. As you put pieces together, they fuse. And after you've put a couple pieces together, you can't let go. You're stuck on this. You get to enjoy the benefits of whatever the pieces that you've gotten together give you. But it's always going to be another search for that next item and the next item and the next item. Eventually, as you connect a couple of pieces together, they get a lingering either spell effect or some other sort of effect that gives you generally bonuses. When you've connected multiple pieces, you get more bonuses and more abilities. When you've got them all together, you get a huge amount of powers and abilities. Because of the nature of artifacts, it's not specifically spelled out, so it could be adjusted for your campaign or rolled randomly. Generally, with that many powers in an artifact, though, it's going to be a big deal, making your character truly impressive. If some of those abilities are on the negative side, that's also a part of the artifacts. But the idea of finding something and it leading you to want to put together something else to fulfill a lost potential, a potential that can't be reached until you are ready for it. You have to advance yourself and be made worthy in a kind of a hero's journey through the artificial impetus of finding an item and wanting to find the next item and the next item and the next item. I've used that many times in adventures and campaigns, usually not as blatantly as a magical compulsion forces you to keep going, because that's kind of heavy-handed and could be taken as, being a bit railroady. But the idea of, players will grab onto that. They will want to get the more power. They will want to complete the collection. They will want to do whatever they can. That if you give them that dangling hook of extra power, very few players will ever turn their nose up at it, because it's an inherent need and desire for us. If we value these characters and we want to see them improve, a lot of that comes with getting the new thing, getting the cool thing that you, once you realize this exists in the world, unless there's some truly hideous thing to it, you get a taste of power, you're going to want more. The other item from here that I would think about, likewise, would be the Hand and Eye of Vecna, which again, magical items. They're a bit more gruesome because they are literally the hand and eyeball of a lich, a powerful evil wizard who eventually attains godhood in the ongoing, evolving storyline of the World of Greyhawk. And these items are imbued with an incredible amount of power. He was so strong and so powerful that if you cut off your own hand, put that hand onto the stump, it serves as a hand and gives you a lot of powers. It also turns you evil. You become eventually influenced by the association with this. But the powers are so strong, potentially, that a lot of people will still be tempted to do that. Same thing with the eyeball. You have to gouge your own eye out, put the eyeball in, you get its powers, but yeah, there's that darkness is going to be there. If your character's already evil, then you just skip gleefully down the path of evil. This will encourage you to do more things. And if you get the hand and the eye together, well, you are well on your way. It is actually something to boast about if your character can get both of them and you've properly earned them. Monty Hall, DM, who says, well, you open up the chest and there's this withered hand and an eyeball just looking at you. Well, okay. But, if you have a character of the suitable bent and you go questing and you get both the hand and the eye of Vecna, it's possible. They're both in the game. Your character has some of the most powerful artifacts in the game, and power for its own sake, for some people, that's great. If you're playing an evil character and you use that for your own bent, well, you've accomplished what you were aiming for. You've got some really powerful items. So, forging connections like that, for some people, is the entry point into a greater adventure. For people who just go on narrative alone and don't have those kind of connections, something like that interjected into your game can add a bit of, extra guidance when the players are just like, what, every time we go forward, something horrible happens. If we don't go any further, then maybe nothing else horrible will happen. That's a fatigue that you can get, for narrative fatigue, really, when you feel like everything you do just leads to more and more bad things happening just so that you can fix them. Having something like, forging connections into a meta item, or meta something, certainly, can be exciting. I did do a King Arthur storyline at one point, but the knights went missing. And the group had to get as many knights back as they could to prevent this great calamity. I think it was the dragon Calamitous that was actually coming, and they were warned that he would be coming in 100 days, so they had to get as many knights of the Round Table so that they would be able to rise up as a host and fight against Calamitous. That was a type of collection quest. Allowed me to forge personalities for the individual knights so that I had something to play off of with the heroes, and finding one or two knights actually led them on to find other knights. It was a good storyline. Unfortunately, I didn't have a really great group for it, and they didn't appreciate Arthurian history as much, so yeah, maybe I'll do that again someday, though. That was a lot of fun, but I'll do it in GURPS. Yeah. Anywho, that's something that I've always thought about and enjoyed with gaming, is the idea of forging connections, making something bigger, realizing potential. And I don't mind being a little Monty Hallish from every now and again. If you want your players to feel really, really powerful, well, you can give them really, really strong challenges too. But yeah, if your whole group together gathers the 5 rings and can then summon the Great Dragon, yeah, you've just cribbed the storyline from Captain Planet. But if they've worked for those items, and there's a suitable, say, a prophecy that they need Captain Dragon to fight off something, then have at it. Bring out all of the pageantry. Make the players earn the power rings of Wan, and eventually get together, gather their powers, and summon the Great Dragon. They can fight alongside or fight as the dragon, possibly. I don't know. It's a lot of meat on those bones, really. Even though for some people that might seem trite as hell, I guarantee you there's whole generations of players coming up who haven't had that experience. It's not dead. It's something that could very well go on to excite whole new generations of players. Maybe it's something that you don't want to do too much. Fair enough. But would it be, remiss for a game master, introducing new young players into the joys of role playing? You give them something cool and makes them want to keep playing and getting them more cool things. Yeah, guilty as charged, but it's okay. They've enjoyed it, and some of them have stuck with gaming for quite a long time. So, I'm Rob. That's my take on Forging Connections, the penultimate day of RPGaDay for the 30th. Thank you for joining me. And I hope that you've enjoyed this series. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, well, I'm here at the Lair of OmnusI. I'll keep making things. Please like and subscribe. I love my new subscribers. And thank you very much for listening to me. I am certainly going to finish off. So if you come back tomorrow for the 31st, the final day, you'll see me the last time this year for RPGaDay that I crawl in front of the internet and make a video. Thank you, and farewell.